No, no, I wasn't ready. How's it going, people? My name is LB, the realist with Surrealistic Studios, Surreal News, where the real is surreal. I only got a few minutes to spare now, so I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. Uh, I took notes. So recently, yesterday, as a matter of fact, California state lawmakers formally apologized for 120,000 people who were imprisoned during World War II in the internment camps. These are the Japanese Americans that were unfairly put into camps, internment camps, uh, during that whole wartime because we were at war with Japan. So, like I said, this happened on Thursday. California state lawmakers unanimously approved a resolution lamenting the failure to support and defend the civil rights and the liberties of Japanese Americans. And again, 120,000 people, Japanese Americans, that were imprisoned during World War II. California state lawmakers unanimously approved a resolution lamenting the failure to support and defend civil rights and the liberties of the Japanese Americans. So I think that that is absolutely wonderful. I think that they should issue a formal apology. I think that, those people and their families should be taken care of. And I just want to make the connection that it's so easy. Oh, something popped up. Let me get rid of that. It's so easy for our politicians and our lawmakers to talk about certain segments of our population, certain groups that have, gone through struggle or that were mistreated in ways, or, it's easy for them to say they stand with the indigenous people. It's easy for them to say they stand with Native Americans. They stand with the LGBTQ. They stand with immigrants, DACA recipients, and all of this stuff. And it's great. I love it. I'm all inclusive. I love people. You know my thing, love, peace, and light. What I don't understand is why does it seem to be when it comes to the African American population, we don't seem to get that same respect. I mean, we get a lot of talk around election time. A lot of people notice us during elections. They say, well, you got to have the black vote, you got to talk to the black people. And then you see all these politicians going around and trying to get the black vote, pandering not only to African Americans like Hillary Clinton with the hot sauce and the purse thing, but to Latin Americans as well, and Spanish Americans, with Pete Buttigieg in the last debate and previous debates, pandering, trying to speak Spanish horribly, I might add, trying to speak Spanish. And, future reference, if you don't know Spanish, just don't try to speak it to a Spanish group of people that you're talking. Just don't do that. You just come off as douchey. Like nobody wants to hear that shit. If you don't know Spanish, just say, yeah, I don't know Spanish. Look, you don't have to pretend. You don't have to fake the funk, all right? But I digress. I don't understand why, when it comes to African Americans, the story gets changed. It's like, well, you guys need to get over it. Or, here they go again. And it really sucks. And this is the type of thing that makes us so angry. It's because we don't see the same standards being applied all across the board. We see you behaving this way with this group of people and this way with this group of people. And when it comes to us, it's like, well, we need their votes, but fuck them, really. So I don't see a formal apology for Jim Crow or slavery or all the bullshit that African Americans had to go through in this country, up to a certain point, and all the bullshit we're still going through. We've come a long way, don't get me wrong, but not nearly as far as enough. Not nearly as far as enough. I mean, we can't even have a serious conversation about reparations without somebody saying, no, reparations isn't a winning issue. or or why should only black people get money? A check is not going to solve all their problems, which are correct. A blank check is not going to solve the problems of the African American community, but it's a start. And I'm not saying just a blank check of money. There's levels to this, and there's actually people that studied this issue already. This is nothing new. The issue has been studied already. We just need to go ahead and do what's right. So I love the fact that they formally apologized for the 120,000 people that were imprisoned in the internment camps, the Japanese Americans that were unfairly treated and imprisoned. But we need to start having this attitude with every group of people, not just one group of people or a select group of people. Let's stop having selective outrage and let's start having the same level of energy. Let's keep it 100, like they said. Let's keep it 100. Have that same level of energy for all groups of people. And I think another thing that we need to realize is that a lot of people don't have the education. They don't have the knowledge that they need to have in order to make these points. Like even myself, like I have troubles with names and dates and times and stuff like that. But I know the general consent. Like I have the general feeling. I know the basics. I know that we built this country. I know that we helped create this whole thing, and we have no respect. We still get killed in the streets. We still get unfairly targeted by policies such as stop and frisk. And that's just one. Redlining, that's two. Like there's so many different laws on the books that were put there in order to stifle the black community. Look what happened to Black Wall Street. I mean, there's so much unfairness, there's so much evil, so much nonsense that has happened. And we don't even get an apology. We don't get a serious conversation about reparations. We don't get hardly anything. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating. So it's like, it's a bittersweet feeling when I read stories like this about the Japanese internment camps. But then I remember like, oh, well, at least they got taken care of, at least, so I don't know. I know that reparations isn't necessarily a winning issue, but just because it's not a winning issue doesn't mean that it's the wrong issue. It doesn't mean that it's something that we should neglect or sweep under the rug just because it's not popular to talk about. If you guys have been watching me, I talk about a lot of things that are unpopular. I have a lot of unpopular opinions. That's okay. We all think differently. We're all different people. But I just think that we need to be honest and open about these things. We need to have a real conversation about what happened, what's still happening, and how what happened affected a whole generation and generations after that of people. We need to really understand institutional racism. We need to really go back to our roots so that we can properly heal. And that's why I appreciated people like Joaquin Castro and people like Marianne Williamson, and yes, even people like Tom Steyer, even though he's trying to buy the election and pouring money into into ads, trying to win people over, he's still talking about reparations at least, and that's one point about him that I do appreciate. I appreciate that he's the only one on the stage right now. Well, not recently, but he was the only one bringing up that issue. The issue of reparations. And he said that in order for us to move forward, we have to go back and we have to heal. We have to understand what it is that happened so that everybody is on the same page. Because we can't just have one group of people screaming reparations, another group is screaming, well, we didn't do it and you weren't slaves, so why should you get something? Well, it's not why should we get something, it's how can we heal and move forward with what we know. How can we make this situation better when the black household is not equivalent to the white household, because the white household had years and years and years of a head start, when black households were being discriminated and had actual laws on the books that discriminated against us. So these are things that we're still in, and we're still dealing with racist people in our government. Institutional racism in our education, environment, and in almost every aspect of life. So like I said, we need to really go back with this. We need to really understand what it is that we're talking about here so that we can all get on the same page. All right, I'm for reparations. No, I'm not for just a blank check for every black person, but I am for a form of reparation that lifts the African-American community, the descendants of slaves, the African-American, and people that are affected by racism as well. You know, there's levels to this. There are levels to this, but I'm for a form of reparations that lifts African Americans out of the situation that we're in, and makes it so that generations after us will be able to succeed, even though we've overcome all this other bullshit from our past. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share it, and subscribe. All right, I'm glad to live in a state that's so progressive. Like I said, California, we have our flaws. We have our flaws, but you know, at least we're trying. By golly, we're trying. All right, people, until next time, love, peace, and light. I'm out.